podcast called The Growth Journey. This is the place where you will start your personal growth and development. I'm glad you're here. I'm your host, Cheryl Hart. So, to those of you who are just tuning in to our emotional intelligence or EQ, or some people also call it as a EI, welcome, and I'm glad you are here with us. If you want to catch up on our series of episodes, feel free to to go back and check out our episode number 38, which is what we started the series of, the title called the Importance of Emotional Intelligence, and followed by episode number 39, which is the title is The Importance of Empathy. Sounds good? So all this month, we are creating a series of episodes just focusing on emotional intelligence. I think there's a lot of things that we have to be aware of, in a sense that how emotional intelligence will play a big role to your success, especially in a workplace, in your career, and also your relationship with other people. And if you are leading a team, those are really important parts for you, in order for you to be successful and leading a team and in your company. So this is what we are building blocks of episodes. So we started off the introduction, which is the episode number 38, the importance of emotional intelligence. So there's where we introduce you to it. And then followed by the episode number 39, which is the importance of empathy. Why is it so important? Why we have to know other people's feelings, right? And also our feelings toward them. So those are the discussion that we have so far. And today, to continue on our series this month for Emotional Intelligence series. So today we will talk about the importance of self-awareness. Okay, as one of the important piece of emotional intelligence. So actually, when we just started off this podcast back 2019, maybe mid summertime, and we already created a episode specific on self-awareness. And I thought, since we're doing this a series, I thought it would be good to create a new one, or at least bump it up towards the link to it, to the emotional intelligence. So this is what we're going to talk about today. If you wanted to hear the first episode on self-awareness, feel free to download episode number 6, titled Self-Awareness. And this one is also towards that, but we're trying to link it to the topic of what we have going on this month. Okay, so to start off, let's define first what is the self-awareness. So it's by definition, self-awareness is the ability to recognize oneself as an individual, separate from the environments and other people, and consciously knows and understands their own character and feelings, motives, and desire. So in a sense that self-awareness is a skill that you can master. So this is one of those skill set that you can master. If you're not aware yet, if you do have this type of skill set, yes, you can master it. Yes, you can learn from it. Okay, it's not something that you are born with. In fact, in life, if you live enough, reflect enough, and have had experiences, even though if it's bad experiences or good experiences, but in a sense that every experiences you have had, either bad or good, mostly specific on the bad experiences, you will learn more about who you are. Okay, so as the quote have said that every problem introduces a person to himself. If you recognize that, you are self-aware. Okay, so this is what we're going to focus on this episode. So first of all, a few years ago, let me share this story with you. So a few years ago, I have had a numerous of position to the company that I work with. Most of them know my work as a high performer, and when I get to that position, I am fortunate enough that I could excel to those positions that I held. And that's why they want me to be there, to be there and to work with them and offer also from other divisions within the company. Since I have grown to the best of my ability, I have honed to study myself first, to study myself and to get to know what I can and cannot do. Okay, so what my talent is, or my talents are, what my gifts are, and what my strengths are. So I fully aware what are those, and I'm still, still to this point, it's not perfect. I'm still learning. I'm still growing, and this is the beauty about life is you can continuous to learn about who you are and your strength because the longer you live, think about it, the longer you live, you will gain more experiences. You never stop. There's no end goal. Okay. Once you perfect one thing, you will go to the next one. You go to the next and then you tried it on and see if that works for you and see if you liked it. So you kind of test it out the water all the time. So it will always expanded you. You're not gonna be staying the same. You always expanded you. It will take you to something that you cannot dream about that you'll be able to do. Okay. I have also learned that even if it's not my natural talents or I am not very good at certain things, so the things that I can do like average, but I knew without, with good enough practice, study, and experience, in due time, I can do better, perhaps excel at it. However, there are some things that no matter what I do, no matter what I do, I won't be as good, okay? And I will dislike it no matter how big the opportunity could be. And I just don't have that skill set, you know? You cannot be good at everything, it has to be specific. So this was the position was about that was offered to me a few years ago. I was offered a position as I believe it was a project manager. Okay, the pay is great, and the offering is great, more than what I was making at that time. And I got to know the team well, and they seems to be fine. It seems like that we are getting along well. But when I look at the position and what I got to do a bit more, so I went deeper dive on that. Right away, I knew it wasn't for me. I am the type of person who is very social and I like people. As a project manager, you will focus on the process, the procedures mostly in this particular position, and SOP spreadsheets, and proving, I call it tracking your task and make sure that you are, aligned to it. See, I can even explain it in a good way. That's how bad I am as a project manager. And nothing here that I will deal with people or customers. Maybe there's some few things here and there, but not a whole lot. And I will pretty much in the behind the scene. So the money is good, but everything else is not. So I went back to the manager. I said, I thank him and I appreciate them for considering me for that position. And I explained that although in my history of my career, everything that I agreed on, the position or for the work that I do excel and have done a great job. Okay, because I stay true on who I am and what I enjoy doing and what my talents are and skills and strengths are aligned towards my work. And I fully aware of what I can and cannot do. So I do not, so that's why I do not stress on the things that I cannot do and focus on what I can do and, do not have a control of, right? And that's the example of being self-awareness, of being self-aware of who you are. And when I explain to them and politely pass the offer, they do admire that, being truthful and being honest and being upfront to them on how I know about myself. And it seems they have never heard, maybe they have heard this before, but not often, that a person will truly, being aware of who they are. Sometimes they just take on a job because of other reasons, mostly for money, right? Because of the pay. They don't care what the job is, just give me the payment, right? Or is something that a higher position because they aim to be a manager, so this is the only way they can be in that position, or some of them are really trying to get out of where they at, and now this is their escape route to go to that position. So there's so many reasons why people take on a job just to take on the job without even thinking it through if this is aligned towards your talents, your skills, your knowledge, your gifts, and more than likely when you did that, it's really hurting you more than giving you helping you out in the long term. So if you're gonna look at it long term, maybe short term it will work, but long term is not. It's not gonna work out for you. So you see, when you know yourself well enough and you have a great understanding of who you are, it will save you greatly. It will save you greatly, and it will help you to make a decision and doing the right things. Okay, and if I just accepted the position without even have any thoughts about it, and if this is something that would truly fit me for, or even if the pay is great and other perks, I will be miserable. I can see myself miserable doing that, and there's no fulfillment for me. Okay, there's no fulfillment, and I will be like everyone else who comes in on Mondays and dragging their feet to go to work and counting the days because counting the days where's the next Friday is, and doesn't come. Sometimes the days doesn't come fast enough. So I don't want to be that person, right? It's not who I am. I like working. I like what I do. So it has to be aligned to what I'm doing, right? What interests me. So let me ask you this question for you. Do you feel the same way right now? Do you feel the same way right now if in your job that you hate your job and you do not like what you're doing, and thinking it through, okay? Thinking it through right now. Why did you accept this job or this position in the first place? What are your reasoning behind it? Now, looking back, maybe you accepted it 6 months ago or a year ago, even 2 years or 3 years or more than like that, more than years ago. Or I don't know if there's a word for that, but think about it. Think about it. What are the reasons behind when you accepted a position? Is it do you have that some level of self-awareness when you did accepted those position, or because you just have to? Okay, so this is something that you can reflect on right now, that why did you accept that position, and is that really a good decision that you have made, and what are the process of those when you accepted or made that decision? Okay, so think about it. Okay, so more than likely you select them, those things that you select them yourself. No one selected it for you. Okay, you agree and you sign that document, the contract, that you tell them, yes, I will work for this company and I will work for this position. And yet now, maybe you didn't like it. Maybe you didn't, this is not what you expected. Okay, so think about it, what you have right now. So granted, perhaps you did like it before when you started, but things change, right? Things change. That's not going to be the same way when you first started your position or your job. However, the principles stay the same. That you are aware of what you are getting yourself into, right? So do you have enough self-awareness of who you are and what you are capable of doing when you accept those positions, or when you made that decision before? So you see, having a self-awareness will save you with so many bad decisions long term. This is why it is so important for you to hone the skills and ability. And you are not born with it. I know, we're not born with it, but it can be learned. And if you just put your mind to it, put in the effort and put in your time, eventually you will learn from it. Okay? As Gretchen Rubin have said, self-awareness is a key to your mastery. So learn it, and apply it in due time, everything you touch will turn to gold. And every opportunity that you've accepted, you will excel at it. And majority of your decisions, you will make it just right. Okay? So that's the power of having a self-awareness. Imagine that, right? Just imagine yourself every time you go to take on the position, you excel at it because you being true to yourself. You're not compromising anything, right? So that's how powerful it is becoming aware. Okay, so now let's talk about self-awareness as a leader. So if you are leading a team or you are aspiring to lead a team, let's talk about self-awareness as a leader of the team in a company. Okay, so Daniel Coleman wrote an article on self-awareness. He said that self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. Okay, so I captured this article in LinkedIn when I was searching for it, and yeah, this is what I found out. So the author is Daniel Coleman, and the article called "Self-Awareness is the Foundation of Emotional Intelligence." So Daniel have said that leaders who are self-aware can recognize when their emotions have a negative impact on their work or on the people around them. They are then better equipped to address any situation in an effective way, such as through creating opportunities or feedback, experiencing with different ways to motivate their team, or being more open to creative solutions. I also would like to add that for leaders, okay, I would like to add for leaders, you need to be aware if your team are disconnected or disconnected. Okay, so you had as a leader, you need to be aware if you are disconnected with your people. For example, there are times when leaders are hosting a meeting. He or she will inform the team the status update of the business, right? And nothing and anything that exciting project coming up or anything that they're working on, they will share it to the team and recognize those people who have achieved a certain level of good work ethic and recognize them in front of everyone. So these are all good and great um, when you have this meeting with your team. However, a true test is the after the meeting. Okay, so after the meeting, did the team get energized, get inspired and motivated to get back to work and do their best? Because many of us, we always prepare the upcoming meeting, right? So to those of you who have led meeting many times, we always preparing for the slide deck, the PowerPoint, what we gotta discuss. You're gonna formulate your presentation and all, and what you are going to share to the team, and any new exciting things that you would like to share with them. But what do we do after the meeting is more important than the preparation. Okay, did we communicate enough with our team members to ensure that everyone is getting the same messaging and that they understood what they had to do? And I have seen that there are leaders who are just delivering the news or telling the team members on what they needed to do on that project, but there are times that's the only time you hear from them, right? Sometimes you never heard from your leaders. You have a meeting once a month and then they tell you what you need to do, and boom, leave me alone. They don't even check up on you, say, hey, how things are going, do you need help, right? How are project coming along? Even though they check up on you, they only check up on you if how the things are going on, how's the project going and things like that. But they don't really communicate with you in a way that, hey, how our family is doing, empathy, right? There's no open dialogue with that, or even help ask you if you needed help. Okay, so there are a lot of situations like that. So if you are one of these people that experiencing it, you're not alone. I have experienced that too myself. This is why I'm bringing this up, because it's something that has to be changed, in the leader perspective or in the leader side of it. Okay, so the leader would then expect, their team that they get, that they get it and understood, because after the meeting, they expect that everybody understood it, everybody is excited, but they're not. There's some questions sometimes, even if the team members express, some concern or have asked some clarifying questions, sometimes you feel like the leader will just answer them briefly and not giving any thoughts on his answers. Although sometimes there could be some underlying problems behind it as to why the situation like this occur, but more than likely they don't really connect enough with their team members. Okay. However, being aware, especially as a leader, when you know that you are disconnected with your people, and if you are answering their questions but not putting so much thought on it, then that's what you need to look at. And by doing so, you can correct it early on, and you will draw your team members back in and not pushing them away. Many times your people felt like they have been pushed away or pushed aside. And unfortunately, the leaders is not even aware of the effect on his people. Okay? And people would like to be heard and understood in a much deeper level, and not just in the surface. And unfortunately, a lot of that has been happening within the company, within the division, within a small team, large or small team, it doesn't matter. People will feel that, okay? And many times, leaders only touching the surface and not finding the root cause on where the problem resides. And when it was not addressed early on and are not aware of what causes it, then the problem is still exists and it keeps building up. And then years later, you will see the result. You see the company or division keep missing the target, keep missing the sales, not making enough revenue. From the previous year, they were doing good, and then suddenly something happened because they don't really take enough time to actually check up on their people and see how our things are going. Not just how things are going, do you need help? Helping them out, what they can do, improve it. They just let it slide, let it go. Okay, and and sometimes it's hard, and it's hard for leaders to do that, but that's the leader's responsibility. It's not the people's responsibility. You have to be aware of it, right? So years later, if you didn't act sooner, if you're not aware of what was going on, years later, you're not meeting the target, you're missing this revenue, and then sales is not catching up. Always, you're always missing the sales or the order or whatnot to operate it in financial situation in the company. Not only that, and then people start quitting their jobs and lots of turnovers, and then from there, your customers are not happy, and they're not happy from the service that they are receiving from your people, and they too going to the competitor. So those are things that you have to be aware of, right? It cascaded the problem, from the time when you have this big meeting with your team, and then you prepare for your slide deck, you prepare for the meeting, but then you didn't check up after the meeting, which is the most important thing, to make sure that that the people around you, the people within the company has been heard, and then addressing those concerns and truly address those concerns and fix it. That if you're not aware of it, if you don't take action, those are the things that you're gonna see in a result. Okay, and all because the leader didn't take the time, to fix it and what's broken at the beginning by becoming aware if there are any disconnect with their people, right? So being a leader is a top job. Only those who have a high level of awareness, especially in emotional intelligence, will truly excel. And unfortunately, not many of them are exist. So having a tactical business strategy on how you grow your business is only a small part of it. The main problem here is, or the main task here is to maintaining it. It's the hardest thing to do. So to maintain it is where your self-awareness and in your EQ, which is your emotional intelligence, will come to play and will play a big role in this situation. So much, so much so that it will rely on your EQ in order for you or for the company to get to the next level and to teach to reach that higher level of success. So where you do, so maybe you're probably asking, so where do you start with self-awareness? If you wanna improve the skill set and your ability, where do you start, right? Where do you start? Of course, the answer on that one is you have to start with yourself. Okay, how do you know yourself? Become aware first in yourself. So in order to grow yourself is to know yourself, right? So the question is for you, do you know who you are? What your strengths are? What your weaknesses are? What can you do and what you cannot do? Which one of those skills that can be learned and which one that you cannot or doesn't exist for you? And when you master the skills and you think you are ready to become a leader, then that's the only time you'll be able to do that. And then take that next step as a leader, learning everything about emotional intelligence, which includes empathy, right? That we learned the last episode. Now the awareness. And lastly, the importance of connecting with people. Not just communicate, but connecting with them, in which what we are going to talk about next week in our next episode, the last series of our emotional intelligence series episode. This is what we're going to discuss, the importance of connecting. Okay. So I hope these lessons on the importance of self-awareness had helped you in some ways, and I think you could learn one or two lessons on here, and if you did, that's good enough for me, and I hope that's really served you well. And just think about it, when right now, just think about it, all the decisions that you have made so far, even your work or your life, buying a house maybe, whether anything at all, anything, the decision that you have made so far. What made you made those choices? Okay, what made you choose those? Are you self-aware, or did you just pick it just because, or you put some thought on it, and that's how you get to that point. So yeah, so tonight or today, just thinking it through. When you do that, and then write it down, how did you make that decision? And when you're writing it down, and then when you review it, the next time you make the same decision again, and then you will say, oh yeah, this is why I made that decision. And that, my friend, you are self-aware. Okay, all right, so with that, as I always tell you every Sundays, always remember, if you don't invest in your own personal growth, no one will. Take care and be well.